Now we're in the bed where the seed starts were put in. That's the small potatoes themselves to be grown into big potatoes, and we'll see. That's the first clump that he's hitting, and Helene is pulling lots of potatoes out.
Mark, right here where my hand is.
Yeah, okay.
On that side.
So what's the verdict? More?
This is why I go around the whole thing.
Gotcha.
Are there more potatoes from this method?
Yep.
Mary's saying yes. So folks, rather than slips, we're going to take these little tiny potatoes that were at the very ends of the roots that didn't get a chance to mature and use them as our starting potatoes next year. Now there's a thing, and I was told this by a farmer, and I have no scientific proof,
We have this. There's one in there, Mark.
that if you continue to use the same seed start, this is very exciting.
Snap the root there.
If you continue to use the same seed start year after year, you will find that the color of the potato lightens. So when people use white sweet potatoes, or they buy white sweet potatoes, the farmers tell me that this is just not changing up your seed stock enough, and so the potato tends to go white. It tastes the same, but it goes white. And I don't know, I mean, that really is just hearsay from a farmer.
You want to kneel here? I can't get up and down, sorry.
So we're now 3 years into this seed stock. This is the third season that this seed stock has grown out.
Well, let's look to the picture here.
But you know what I find with those that are whiter? They're starchy like an Idaho baked potato.
Are they more starchy? That's interesting.
And that's why I try to tend toward the dark yellow, because they're true sweet potatoes.
But people will actually sell the white ones as though it were something that was like a unique cultivar. So
You got one
But
here?
check with Mr. Moore at the farm
All right,
market. He,
so let me-
that's who I think told me that.
well, he hasn't tasted them because they do taste very starchy.
I think he relies on what his customers give him as feedback, and they taste the same, and that's something a nutritionalist would notice. But Mrs. Smith might not pick up on it.
Oh, we're going to have a bonanza over here.
Yeah. The word of the day is bonanza when we hit a big grouping of them. Hey, do you want to show us the seed the seed saving? We're going to save some seed from basil now. And Helene has done me a favor by putting the bag over the top of them, and she's going to cut them from the bottom, and that way all the seeds, and they're tiny little seeds, and they have an opportunity to fall when we do this.
I gotta get a cutter.
Clippers? So let me just pull some in. See if I can. Any of these little black seeds come out. Teeny tiny black seeds. And gosh, I can smell basil. And there's a lot of chaff around there, so I'm not sure that we're actually seeing seed. But if they're really, really ripe and we turn it upside down, something like that will drop its seeds. So she's putting a bag over the
But
top.
I'm going to use multiple bags.
Or just keep going over them. In one, you know what I mean? We can group them together. God, they smell good. That basil smells
Oh.
lovely.
Italian, anyone? Yeah, I'm going to do that with the rest of them too.
Take one bag and put it over that whole chunk. You're going to get another bag to do that,
I'm going to
but
get another bag. Hold that thought.
that's how we'll do it. So that's our moment here at the basil. We'll get back to that. Let's see how they're doing. We don't have prop people. All right, Mr. Mark, you're our prop person. Look at that. How exciting. So we've commented on a couple of things. We're not seeing as many earthworms as we'd like to see.
I should throw. Can you catch? Oh.
And I'm feeling like a lot of our soil doesn't have the right nutrition in it. We have gone ahead and put cottonseed meal down a couple of weeks ago to help. And we're talking now about building soil with manure. And manure is special because with manure you have to allow it to cure for a period of time so the microorganisms that can hurt you die. And with horse manure you wait 6 months and then you can use it. And with chicken manure and waste you use 3 months as your marker. And what we thought was between now and spring, we have a friend saving horse manure for us, and we'll go ahead and we'll bring in some chicken manure and build some nutrients back into this soil.
Yeah, I do.
Yep. Let's size of worms that are coming up too.
You are seeing worms in this bed. Good, because the other bed had none.
Yep, you're right.
Wonderful.
I saw one.
You saw one?
Oh, wow, that's a good one, huh? And the size of the worms that are coming up, yeah.
Oh, there's one.
So, for anyone thinking of doing this with their kids, the best part of gardening is digging up potatoes and carrots. When it's under the soil and you don't know what you're going to find, it's always an adventure. Even radishes are a really easy way to do this. We will do Irish potatoes and we'll put them in March, and then we'll harvest them by Memorial Day. So that's the next under the ground potato harvest.
I think this was the mother plant.
The mother plant, yes, it looks like it really was, doesn't it?
Now that's a shame. I want to see you bake that one. We'll see.
I think that we're gonna be roasting them, maybe not baking them. Oh, Mark, there it is, another group.
But roasted potatoes are terrific.
They are.
With a
They're
little olive
delicious.
oil
Yes.
seasoning.
Yep. A little.
They really taste.
And you can do that savory, or you can do it with cinnamon and a little olive oil in the broiler, or even just baking them at 425 for an hour maybe. Depends. You just watch until they get soft. But that's a delicious way to do them.
Huh?
There we go.
Oh,
Mary has a jackpot there. Yeah.
wow.
Pretty little potato.
Doesn't matter, I did.
I may have been in your way.
No. Yeah.
So let's talk for 1 minute before we sign off for the day about what's going to happen here next. So we've taken a lot of nutrients out of the soil. We're concerned about the trees doing the same, and we are aerating by harvesting. And we're at a time of year where we can seed a cover crop. And a cover crop is a crop that is going to turn into what they call green manure. We put it in the ground. Some of them actually are nitrogen fixing, where they take nitrogen out of the air and bring it back through their roots to the soil. And when they're done growing, we will cut them down and turn them in and allow their decomposition to be bringing nitrogen back into our soil. So the couple of things that you can do just off the top for green would be annual ryegrass. We're going to be doing oats. And you can do clover. You can use buckwheat. I think we're going to be using buckwheat too. And when you're doing these, some of the plants that you choose can also act as pollinators. And in the early spring, sometimes there isn't a whole lot for the insects to eat. So when you use red clover or buckwheat, you're creating flowers that then happen during the course of the lifespan of the plant before it's turned back into the soil. So it's a dual purpose thing. It actually fertilizes the soil and it provides fodder for our insects. Helene has harvested the rest of the basil and it is waiting for me. The loofah is still hanging on. We have to wait for the pods to turn a lighter color before we can harvest them and then let them dry the rest of the way. If they don't grow and become fibrous enough, they're just going to rot. So one of the things we were discussing is if they are at a stage where they can't be used for loofah and they can't be used for eating because they're too mature, they do work well for your farm animals. You can feed a sheep or a pig, or you can let your chickens peck at it. So we're going to try and do things that are really sustainable, that have multi-purposes, and that don't allow for too much waste. When we have garden waste, it goes into the composter. When we have things that can't be eaten by people, we bring them to our animals. And we also are very mindful of creating the next generation of food for the season. So we save seeds and we save sweet potato roots, and it's really been effective in having a almost neutral cost garden. We don't have expenses year after year because we're reusing what we've grown, and we've taken it through the full lifespan so that it is sustainable. And on that note, I guess the note for the day is sustainable gardening matters, and it's lots of fun to grow and harvest and watch the evolution. And there's something for everyone in the garden, because if you say, I'm not a hands in the dirt kind of a person, well, look what Helene's doing. She's beautifying our garden. And let's let the helicopter pass. We'll go back and see what they're doing while we're waiting. But there's a place for everything. And it makes such a difference to have whimsy in the garden. And she brings those ornamentations here, and she's using them in the windmills. She's using them to repel pests, and it's been effective.
Yeah, there's more of these plants there, and there's a plant here.
The master gardeners are getting their youthful Sunday morning
We all went to
adventure.
Mass yesterday.
Hey, we are. Oh, is this not the time to see the biggest potato of the day?
Whoa.
So I'm going to sign off. Everybody say goodbye and happy. Oh, gosh, I'm not signing off yet. Look at that bucket, y'all. What a difference. Okay, so we have really demonstrated that is what's come out of this bed. And if we go to the other bucket, the one that was started with slips, and here we also have one that's growing with competition with the root systems from that pine tree. Look at the difference. So choosing and selecting how and where you plant really matters.
And that bed down there had a lot of roots in it from the tree.
That's exactly what I was saying. It makes a big difference where you select to locate your garden. So we were bountiful with the seed starts from the small potatoes, and we had an area here that had no root system interference.
A lot of moisture out of the ground.
So everybody's consensus is those pine trees are being a problem for us. And that one with the bifurcated top is probably not the safest tree. But our plan, knowing this was happening, the garden matured over a number of years, and so we're going to begin to change the format of the bed spacing to make it safer for children to gather in larger spaces. We were thinking we would take more children initially and put them around larger beds, and now COVID has come, so we think, okay, the larger beds are still a good idea, but we're probably going to have to cut our population in the garden by half. And we're going to be moving away from some of those roots, and that will buy us at least another 5 years. And we've also discussed using hardscape materials that we can disassemble and reassemble as we move and have to grow with the space.
The nutrients,
So, big plans
and moisture,
for
the pine trees probably just zapped right out of it.
And you
the
know,
happy
it's
gardeners
only now pulling up a little clay,
at the St. Paul's Children Garden.
maybe an 8 to a quarter deeper here than I was over
Yeah.
there.
You guys saving the last one there, huh?
That's all for now.
Yeah,
Right there.
yeah.